Okay, welcome back to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone back. We're going to do walking meditation. I'm going to teach it to you and then get you guys started with it and then leave you guys on your own to actually do it. It's really helpful for learning walking meditation because if you have an overactive mind, it'll really help you to kind of calm down. If like the last thing you're thinking about is going and sitting somewhere and being still, this is a great meditation for you. It's also helpful if you're falling asleep and you're noticing that. So I'm going to teach it to you, and then like I mentioned, I'll kind of get you guys going and get you started with it. So let me just switch over to some visual aids here for everyone online. Okay, so it's only going to take me probably 10 minutes to teach it to you and get you going. It's really simple to teach it. First is that the walking meditation is exactly the same goals as the breathing mindfulness meditation. You're eliminating craving, desire, attachment, and you're cultivating mindfulness or awareness of mind while training the mind to have concentration. So with the breathing mindfulness meditation, you're focused on the breath. And whenever the mind moves off the breath, you're cutting that off and letting it go and bringing the mind back. Well, you're going to be doing something similar, but this time you're going to be looking through your eyes. And whenever your mind moves off of that, you cut that off and let it go and bring the mind back. So you're still accomplishing the same thing, which is training your mind to let go. And you're training your mind to have mindfulness or awareness of mind that it has moved off. And you're training to be focused and concentrated. So as I was saying, this meditation can be done as a standalone, like all by itself. You can start and finish with the walking meditation, or you could do it prior to other positions. There were times where my mind was like overactive and I was like, I'm not going to sit down anywhere. Like my mind was just too hyped up. So I would do walking meditation first, and then I would switch and go do seated or lying or something like that. Or sometimes I would go do seated, and I was starting with seated, and 3 minutes in, my mind was just bombarded with thoughts, and I would just get up and start doing walking meditation instead. So you can use it that way. You can do it as a standalone. You can do it before. You can do it after. You don't have to just strike a pose and stick with it, right? You can just kind of switch from position to position if you like. So what we're going to be doing is focusing down through the eyes, 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet in front of you. And then whenever your mind moves off of that point, you cut that off, let it go, and bring the mind back to the breath. Your hands and your arms, they can either be in front of you, clasped at the wrist, to the sides, they can be behind you. And now as you're walking, you're going to put your foot out in front of you flat, and then you're going to transfer your weight. Flat, transfer your weight. Flat, transfer your weight. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you, but I'm going to switch over now that we have these new camera. 1 second. Let's see. We can do it right here. Okay, sweet. In the past, I was not able to easily show this part for the people online, but now we just got this new camera, so I can actually teach this online. Testing. Okay, so what you're going to do is you have your arms either in front of you, to the side, or behind you. Okay, so if I didn't have this mic, I would have my hands like this. So now, with my hands wherever they're comfortable, you're going to look 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet. You're just going to stare at the ground. You're going to put your foot out flat in front of you, and then you're going to transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. So it's very intentional walking, right? You're not just walking down the street hanging out. It's very intentional walking. Remember, just go out. It's almost like, remember the old time clocks that are like tick, tock, tick, tock. It almost puts you in a trance when you're sitting in front of that clock. That's what this is doing. It's almost putting you like in a little bit of a trance where you're using the movement of your body to do that tick, tock, tick, tock. Right? So you do flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. And you might need that for a while. I'm going to use that to help you get started. But then eventually you would like to get rid of the flat transfer and just focus your mind. Don't allow your mind to hold on to that flat transfer. So you might start with flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. But then you just let that go. And now you just do it. It's two intentional movements, a flat and a transfer. Flat and then a transfer. So you're not walking, you're actually flat, transfer. And here you're looking through your eyes, and anytime you see your mind move off of that, you bring your mind back. And we're going to be walking in a counterclockwise direction, in a counterclockwise circle. It's not that you can't do it any other way, but I teach it the counterclockwise direction because you guys will eventually learn what this Dhamma wheel is, and this turns in the counterclockwise direction. I'm going to talk about this when we go on our tour. It turns in the counterclockwise direction. So that's why I do this in the counterclockwise direction, so you can remember that this turns in the counterclockwise direction. So any questions?
So we can do this anywhere, even if we're in our apartment and the space is not very big, it's still okay to do in a confined space?
If you can walk around, you can do it. And you would like to start in a controlled environment, like at a temple, in a classroom like this, or one of the main buildings. After you do it like this for several times, or in your house or something, then you can increment the stimulation. You can go to like a park. Here in Chiang Mai, in the southwest corner, we have that little park with the walking trails. You can do the walking there on the trails, because now you're going to have kids running by you every once in a while. You're going to have some pigeons around. You're introducing some impermanence into your practice and training your mind to stay focused and not pay attention to what people are doing around you and not worrying about how they perceive you. And then after you do it at a place like a park for a while, you might eventually go out like on a city street where you got motorbikes whizzing past you, and you got to get rid of the fear that the mind might have. So by staring down at the ground in a controlled environment, you'll get comfortable doing this several times, and then you can increment it up more and more. And this will really help you. There were times where I used to walk in the city, and this was before COVID, and I sometimes do it at nighttime because my wife had a yoga shop, and I'd be waiting for her, and it was nighttime. So I'd be staring at the ground and walking, and I'd hear like kids, like tourists, talking to their mom, like, "Mom, do you see that guy? I think it's a ghost. He's wearing all white. What's he doing? I think he's crazy," right? You know, because they didn't know what I was doing, because I was just staring at the ground and walking. But the Thai people, they knew what I was doing, right? So you kind of hear this gossiping about you, and it kind of like trains your mind, like not to be affected by what people are saying, right? So there's all kinds of benefits to this meditation, and doing it out in the public will actually help you with any personal existence view, helping you to not worry about how people perceive you, or if people are gossiping about you, or all those kinds of things. Because people are going to do that. Even when you're enlightened, people are going to gossip about you, right? And you can't control that, but your mind will be unaffected by it.
David, as you're walking, when do you stop? That, is it when, right now we're only stopping because you kind of mentioned, when is the end state of meditation?
So today I'm going to do a 20-minute session with you guys. So I'll time it and do a 20 minutes. But for you guys, you would like to build up to that 30 minutes or more. 30 minutes is ideal. You don't really have to do more. I can actually count probably on one hand how many times I did more than like an hour of meditation. Maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe two hands. The vast majority of my meditation I've ever done has been 30 minutes. Because that's really all your mind needs. It's kind of like going to the gym. You can go to the gym and talk to your friends, look at the TV, chit chat, look at your phone. You can be in there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, right? Or you could just go in, get your work done, and get out, right? And that's what I suggest that you do with your meditation, is just get it really targeted, do your 30 minutes and be done with it, because there's other things in your day that you would like to do. So if you can build up to a 30-minute session of walking or seated or whatever it is, that's what you would like to do. And then you're done. So from the beginning of your chanting, you look at your time, 9 o'clock, do your chanting, do your meditation, do your chanting, look at the clock again. And if it's like right around 9:30, if it's 27 minutes, 28 minutes, you'll be fine. If it's 32 minutes, 34 minutes, you'll be fine. But don't feel like you have to go an hour or 2 or 3. Some people go really far with that. It's eating into your day, because there's other things you would like to do in your day. And if you're doing this 3 times or at least 2, that's 1 hour right there, right? So you'd like to just get your work done and be done with it. And you'll kind of have that internal guide in your mind of how long you've been meditating, because you're going to look at the clock before and look afterwards, and you'll kind of know generally how long you've been meditating.
And is there, before you do the meditation, I think you mentioned it on Monday, but I don't recall. Is there something we should do? Like, should we read a book, or after meditation, read a book? I mean, how do we transition to meditation and transition out of the meditation?
It's up to you. Some people like to read before or after their meditation. What I used to do is I used to read, and then I would meditate, and then I would just go to sleep afterwards. But if you're going to put your meditation close to where you go to sleep, you would like to do it before you get sleepy. So if you normally go to sleep at 10, you probably ought to meditate around 9:15. Because if you're starting to meditate at like 9:45, 10, your mind's kind of like dozing off. So you like your mind to be attentive and alert. You can also meditate at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something like that. But, sometimes when people are used to praying, they will literally pray, which takes all of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and they'll go to sleep right away. Where this is a longer, more involved practice. So you like to back it up so that your mind is attentive and alert while you're actually doing the meditation. Mm-hmm.
I read or heard somewhere talking about morning meditation, that in the morning, our stress hormone, cortisol, is at its highest in the morning, shortly after we've woken up. So I guess in that sense, meditating in the morning is nice because it can help reduce our stress hormone.
I haven't studied that part, so I don't know. Scientists would be better to answer that, but makes sense to me. So morning and evening is where I suggest people do it. And if you get used to this, it's like, you're meditating in the morning, you're going out in your day with a really fresh mind, and you've got, a more optimally performing mind. And then in the evening before you go to bed, you're kind of going off to sleep with a nice, quality of mind. And then you're waking right back up, and your mind's already in a better shape when you wake up because you had meditated the night before, and now you're putting your mind back into meditation. And if you get that midday meditation in there somewhere, man, it really makes a huge difference. Because, say like 8 a.m. you meditate, and then you're meditating again around 12 or 1, there's not a whole lot that can go on between that period of time that you're meditating again. And now you meditate at that time, and then you meditate again maybe 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night. There's not a whole lot that's going to go on between that period of time. And now you're like hitting the mind. And this is why the Buddha meditated 3 times a day, because it's going to accelerate your practice. If you meditated once a day, you're not going to get to enlightenment, but you'll notice that you exponentially improve the progress of how you get to enlightenment by meditating 3 times a day. There was a period of time where I learned that the Buddha had meditated 3 times a day, and I was like, all right, I would like to try this. I want to see. So I like really stayed dedicated for like a week, and I meditated 3 times a day, like every single day. And I was like, whoa, it really affected the mind in a big way. So if you can get to at least 2, you're going to see a big difference with that. But if you can get to 3, man, it really puts you in a whole nother ball game. Yep.
Is it only breathing mindfulness meditation you can do when you're walking, or loving kindness as well?
Loving kindness you don't usually do in the walking position because you're doing something different with the mind. I think you've probably learned it online with me. So that one's only done in seated, lying, and standing, typically. Mm-hmm. All right, you guys would like to give it a try? Yeah? All right. During the walking meditation, I don't chant. You could. There's no harm. While you could sit down, do your little chanting, or do it standing, and then meditate. This mic's kind of going in and out. Perhaps it'll stay. So we're gonna kind of spread out. Let me see if I can get another mic here. Okay. Yeah, this one sounded good. So we're going to face this way. You guys can just space yourselves out however you'd like to space out. And I'm going to get you guys started, and then I'll just kind of leave you on your own, okay? So standing with your feet about shoulder width, and then looking straight down towards the ground, about 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet in front of you. Put your hands either in front or beside or behind you. And now you just put your foot out in front of you. Don't transfer the weight yet, but just put that foot out in front of you. Just kind of feel the ground in front of you. And now transfer. Put your foot out flat and transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Okay, so eventually you're going to want that flat transfer to just go away. So if you guys would like to use that for a little bit just to help you keep going, but then after a little bit, just let that go. Just focus through your eyes, 1 meter in front of you. And wherever you notice that the mind moves off of that, just cut that off and let it go and come back to looking through your eyes. So flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Okay, if you guys would like to rejoin in the classroom, we'll pick it up where we left off. That was a little bit over 20 minutes. I don't know how long it felt for you guys, but it was just a little bit longer, just a minute or two. All right, so do you guys have any questions on walking meditation?
How far should we step forward? Because I kept on going. I had to go. I was literally really, and then I had to pull back.
Yeah.
I was ahead of him. I think I wasn't sure of my pace.
Yeah.
And
it's not a real big step.
Okay.
I'll just show you. So it's like this. It's right in front. Okay. So you're not actually walking anywhere, right? You're just kind of like putting your foot out in front of you and then transferring the weight.
And then I wanted to ask everyone else. Because I started pacing myself, and I had to start doing. I was second guessing my walking for a while. I don't know if you guys felt that too. Yeah, I was like, wait, am I walking correctly? And I wasn't sure, and I kept on deviating away just to come back in. So, but did anyone go like into? I don't think this was the meditation part. I zoned out. I don't know where I was for a while. I don't think that was meditation, though.
Okay, first let's talk about whether you were walking correctly or not. Is there one way to walk? No. Why? That would be permanence if there was just one way to walk, but we know the universal truth of impermanence, so there's multiple ways to walk, right? So it's whatever's comfortable for you. But yeah, some people talk about how this meditation really puts them into a trance. You know, that's the whole goal, is that this meditation is going to help you find the middle where you can see where your mind can be just completely calm and peaceful, just walking, and that's it. Just looking through the eyes. So now when you do that, it's that steel rod grinding back and forth on the wood that I was talking about. You're finding that groove so that now you see what that feels like when you're walking. And then when you're in day-to-day life and your mind's not in that groove, you'll notice it. Because the more you get used to being in this groove and doing that, then when you're not in that groove, the mind's not in that groove, you'll know that it's not there. So you might have felt, very zoned out at different times. And that's normal. That's almost like a trance-like type of meditation that is occurring. And it's helping you to be able to find that middle where the mind can be peaceful, just walking, and that's it. You don't need all this, YouTube and Instagram and all these flashing lights. I mean, those things, we take in that stuff at different times. There's nothing harmful about that. But you would like to get the mind just to be content and peaceful and joyful, just with nothing, essentially. And then all this other stuff, you can really be peaceful then, because, if you can be peaceful just sitting there, for example, focused on your breath, well, when you got friends around to talk, it's like, oh, I can surely be peaceful now. So that's what you're working to do, is get the mind to the point where it can be peaceful and joyful no matter what you're doing. You don't need this constant stimulation. Mm-hmm.
So halfway through, I remembered the part where I'm meant to be breathing and focusing on the breath coming in through the nose, out through the nose. And so I'm focusing on breathing, walking, and then I found my breathing and my steps all happening at the same time. And then the focus came away from the sensation of the breath coming in through the nose, out through the nose, and just becoming in line with my steps.
Okay. Yeah. So in this meditation, you're not needing to focus on the breath, just the eyes down through the ground, and just looking at that point of fixation. You're not looking really far ahead of you. You're not thinking about what's behind you, right? Because that's the past, that's the future. You're not there. You're right in the present moment. You're not even looking to the sides. Sometimes when I used to do this with students, I would put pillows in front of them to see how close they were before they started veering, because sometimes people would veer like 10 feet away. They would start veering around. I'm like, they're not looking, 1 meter in front of them. So you're not looking in the front, you're not looking in the back, you're not looking to side, you're not focused on the breath. You're just looking at 1 meter in front of you and just focusing the mind there. And anytime the mind's not there, you bring it back. Sometimes students say that it's challenging for them because of all the impermanence of the carpet and the floor, and they look at each little grain and plank of the floor. That's what you're training your mind to be comfortable with, is all this impermanence that you're going to start seeing through the eyes, because you're not going to have permanently agreeable contact through the eyes. So you're going to need to train your mind to be comfortable with that impermanence of the things that you see. Hear, smell, taste, touch, ideas that go through your mind. There's nothing but impermanence. This is the interesting thing about getting to enlightenment, right? You guys know that the mind craves permanence. It does not like impermanence. Well, after you train your mind to be comfortable with impermanence, the mind gets what it always wanted all along, which was permanence. You get that permanent peace, the permanent joy, right? So you need to train your mind to be comfortable with impermanence, so that now you can get the permanence that the mind is always interested in getting to begin with. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because there's so much impermanence. The mind's like, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. Too much change. The world is changing too much. Oh, it's too much change. Well, no, hold on. If change is normal, I can't escape it. It's always going to be there. Let me just be comfortable with impermanence. Let me be comfortable with change. And now the mind's like, okay, change is normal. And now you can actually be peaceful and joyful in the present moment, because your mind finally understands that this impermanence is normal, and you're not holding on to anything, craving for it to be permanent. So now you ultimately get what the mind was interested in all along, which is the permanent peace and the permanent joy. But it needs to be comfortable with impermanence first. Interesting, right? Yeah.
But I think that's why I found it so difficult, because, I find it much harder than sitting meditation. Perhaps because of all that impermanence going on. And like you, I was trying to, at times I was focusing the rhythm of my breath with my steps. Getting caught up in that, getting caught up in the carpet, the posters, the signs and everything. And it was so much stimulation, whereas at least when my eyes are closed, there's thoughts coming in and out of my mind. But this maybe just seems a bit like overload. I found it really difficult in comparison to sitting, which is probably all the more reason to do this.
Yes, that's what I was getting ready to add. So typically when the mind in the unenlightened state meets with a challenge, it wants to push it away, right? That's the aversion. It's like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Let me push it away. But doing that, you'll never eliminate the cravings that are causing that to feel uncomfortable. So what you would like to do is put the mind in the situation that it doesn't want to be in. If there's anything that's uncomfortable, it's just because the mind is craving and clinging somewhere. There's something that the mind is holding on to. So when you notice that discomfort, the tendency of the mind is to push it away because it's craving that permanent comfort and it's trying to get to that. But you'll never get to that permanent comfort if you run away from the things that are uncomfortable. So you walk towards it and you put your mind in that situation. Some people say that this meditation is so much better for them than the seated, right? Because they might have an overactive mind and they need some movement. Other people say this is a lot more challenging for them. So either way, that's where you're on your own journey. Whereas if someone thought seated meditation is more challenging, they should be doing that regularly to help them. They can still be doing this one too, but integrate some of that seated to help them. And now you noticing that this is more challenging, you should integrate one of these into your session at least once every 2 days. You should be doing this kind of thing, getting your mind acclimated and exposed to this so that eventually whatever is holding you back, whatever the craving and clinging is, the mind will release that by exposing it to this. Whereas if you don't ever do it, it won't actually let go of whatever it's holding on to. So keep that in mind that, just like I talked about with chanting, when you do something new for the first time, the mind oftentimes wants to push it away because it's impermanent, it's different. Maybe if someone's used to seated meditation, when they try walking, it feels uncomfortable for them because the mind's maybe holding on to this seated meditation. So that's why you'd like to introduce this impermanence and train the mind to let go. I don't know if you guys have verified yet that your mind craves permanence, but I'll give you this. Look at where you're sitting and notice that you've probably been sitting in the same spot every single time. Not all of you, but some of you have been sitting in exactly the same spot every single day. You see how your mind craves permanence, right? The mind feels comfortable in that spot. So wherever you see your mind's grabbing on, you would like to introduce some impermanence. So what I would encourage you guys to do tomorrow is sit different places. Don't allow your mind to get what it wants, which is that permanence. You got to introduce some impermanence. So if the mind wants seated meditation, give it walking. If it wants walking, give it seated, right? And in certain situations, this is what you would like to do because it's going to challenge the mind to get comfortable with impermanence, and you're not allowing it to get that craving fulfilled, because otherwise it'll just keep grabbing on and grabbing on and grabbing on and holding on to things. So wherever you see your mind's doing that, like say you're eating the same food every single day, or every meal, like in the morning you're eating the same food, you would like to mix it up. If you go to a certain restaurant and you order carrot cake every time you go there, sometimes don't order it, or sometimes get apple pie, or sometimes get fruit or something like this. Mix it up so your mind doesn't get a chance to grab on to something like that. Because when we talk about the focus and the concentration and the clarity and the peace and the joy, it's not actually coming from these techniques itself. These techniques are just preparing the mind and giving you the ability to let go. Where the focus and concentration and all that stuff's coming from is getting rid of your craving. When you get rid of your craving, that's where your focus and concentration will come in, because your mind with craving is being pulled in all these different directions. It's like, oh, look at that beautiful woman. Oh, look at that sexy car. Oh, look at that money over there. Oh, look at that house. Your mind's just pulling in all these different directions. So when you start cutting this stuff off and training your mind, hey, I can just be content right here, then it won't pull in all these different directions. And that's where your focus and concentration is, because carrying around craving is like a burden. It's like a burden on your shoulders. And now it's really heavy to carry into the world. So these techniques are training your mind to be able to let go. And where you see you might be attached to a seated meditation, for example, it's like, no, I'm not even going to let my mind get attached to meditation. I'm going to mix it up here. I'm not going to let my mind get attached to sitting in this exact same spot every day. I'm going to mix this up and train my mind to not do that. So that's what you would like to be doing with your mind on a regular basis. Wherever you see it grabbing onto something, mix it up. If you go to the gym every Monday morning at 8 a.m., mix it up. Sometimes go at a different time. Sometimes go on a different day. Right? Train your mind that, hey, you're not going to get this permanence. If you have a certain way that you go to work every day, you drive the same pattern to work every day, mix it up. Right? Because someday there's going to be traffic or a road closure. You're going to be like, man, I want to get to work. Because you're going in that same place all the time. You're driving that same road all the time. No, mix it up. Because then when you come up to that roadblock and they have the road shut down, all right, no problem. You just know different way to go. There we go. We go around the other way. Some impermanence, road closure. Let me just change the path, right? So this is what you would like to do, is just get used to doing things differently all the time. Living in Thailand, like you guys are staying here now, Thai people understand impermanence. They don't even try to create permanence. I don't know how Australia is or some of y'all's countries are, but in America, they kind of pride themselves on permanence. Like every little suburb is like a cookie cutter. There's even businesses like McDonald's that pride themselves on permanence, right? It's like every hamburger in every single McDonald's is supposed to be exactly the same, right? And this just isn't possible. They're all different, right? So if you live in an environment where people are craving permanence, they will try to create a society where there's as much permanence as possible. And it kind of tricks the mind into thinking this is how the world is. But when you live in a place like Thailand where people understand impermanence, you're going to encounter impermanence all the time. You can show up to a restaurant that their advertised hours on their door are like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and you show up at 3 p.m. and they're closed. And you're like, whoa, what's happening? And if the employees are coming out of the restaurant and you're like, hey, I thought you guys were open until 10. And they're like, yeah, we usually are, but we sold out all of our food, so we're just closing and going home. Huh? That wouldn't happen in a place like America, right? It was like, let's go get some more food and make some more money. Thai people are like, no, we've made enough money. We sold all our food. We're not going to work harder. We did our job. We did what we needed to do. We're going home, right? Or you show up to a restaurant and you order a piece of chocolate cake and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have that. Okay, I'll take the apple pie. Oh, we don't have that either. Sorry, right? In America, they wouldn't do that kind of thing. They would like make sure like as much cake is there as possible because they don't want to not have that cake for someone because someone's going to fly off the handle. But then there's also a lot of waste and things aren't as fresh and things like this. So here in Thailand, you're going to encounter tons of impermanence. You can see walking down the street, they don't even try to make the sidewalks the same, right? Their sidewalks are doing stuff like this. So when you're around a bunch of people that understand impermanence, it's really good for the mind because you're going to encounter lots of impermanence along your day. And you just kind of remind yourself of that. Ah, this is just impermanence. That's all this is. That's all it is. No need to get upset. No need to get angry. Just, it's impermanence. That's it. So you can keep this in mind that where you see your mind grabbing on and craving permanence, mix it up. Food, places you go, clothing that you wear, even your toothpaste, your deodorant, things like this. It's like kind of like wringing out a rag and getting every last little drop out. Don't let your mind crave anything. Maybe you sleep at night with a fan on, right? And if your mind gets attached to that, when you go show up somewhere that doesn't have a fan, you'll have a hard time sleeping because for 3 years you've been hearing that fan in your bedroom. And now when you go somewhere else, you can't fall asleep. You're having difficulties sleeping because your mind's attached to that fan. So everywhere you see certain things, you would like to kind of mix it up and don't allow your mind to grab onto this stuff. Mm-hmm. Can be kind of fun, actually. Kind of tricking the mind out. What's that?
Idea, but in some ways it seems daunting because I realize in some aspects, many aspects of my life, I'm really structured. You know, if a friend says in the morning, "Oh, let's go out for Italian food tonight," for example, and then evening rolls around and they say, "Oh, actually, let's go for Mexican food." I'm like, "No, it's got to be Italian because I was programming my mind." Or so I guess I need to, change all the brands of the stuff I've got at home. Switch up the food I eat, just switch things up a little bit. Yeah,
and it doesn't mean you're going to do it that way always, but you need to do it for a period of time just to make sure the mind's not grabbing onto it and clinging to it, because your mind is a master at clinging to stuff. It's almost like when you first get on the path, you're standing on top of a garbage heap, and you start clearing off the top of the garbage heap and you drop down to another layer of trash, and you clear that off and you drop down to another layer, and you keep thinking like, oh, I'm at the bottom of this pile, like I've cleaned up all my clinging, and the next thing you know, boom, you're getting discontent about something else. So the more you switch things up, it doesn't allow the dust to collect in the corners, because your mind, it'll kind of push things to the corners and it'll allow the dust to collect. So if you start switching things up and changing things around, it'll really help your mind to make sure that it's let go and it's not holding on to these kinds of things. Mm-hmm.
I've spent 52 years getting to this level of perfection, right, David?
To be able to have things permanently in your life? Just
the way I like them. So, it's that in your mind, things will be a certain way. And if I don't, then the whole world might just come crashing down. Yeah. Because I tried that different brand of toothpaste once. I didn't like it.
That's because of sensual desire. Your mind's clinging, right? So you guys know durian fruit? Do you like durian? You don't like it, right? That's your sensual desire. I didn't used to like durian either, right? I despised it because it smells like poop, I think. And I've never had poop in my mouth, but it has the consistency of poop if you put it in your mouth, right?
Poop and phlegm.
So I didn't like it, right? I just kind of pushed it to the side. But then I realized I needed to train my mind to just look at food as something to nourish the body. It was just sensual desire that was causing the mind to push it aside. So rather than just go right for the durian fruit, I used to eat it in cakes because I like cake. And I would eat it in these little snack cakes. And I was like, wow, this actually tastes pretty good. So then I was able to slowly start eating the fruit again, or to start out with, because I never used to like it. So you need to like go in and get rid of all that stuff where the mind's just preferring or wanting it one way or the other, right? Wanting it. If I go to a table of fruit, I would still pick the apples, oranges, strawberries, pineapples over the durian, but I've eaten durian enough that I know my mind's not attached or craving any one particular thing. I'm not repulsed by the durian. You'll still have preferences, but you need to like make sure you've trained your mind to clear out all of these attachments before you know, like, I can just eat strawberries and I know that I can eat the durian. I've eaten it many times, but I just prefer the strawberries instead. And I know that I don't have any craving there. So you need to be able to do that enough that you have that confidence in your own mind. So right now, yeah, your toothpaste, your deodorant, your fruit, your everything, you're going to need to mix it up and train your mind to not hold on and push away the things you're repulsed by and hold on to the things you're craving. So the way you do this is anything your mind's holding on to, you need to distance yourself from it. So that favorite toothpaste, you need to distance yourself from it for a period of time. Anything that you're repulsed by and you're pushing away, you're going to need to bring that into your life, right? So like my phone at one time, I was really attached to my phone and I noticed fear. When I went outside one day without my phone, there was fear in my mind. So then I started distancing myself from the phone and I would intentionally go outside without the phone. But then with the durian fruit, I was repulsed by that. I was pushing that away. So I needed to bring that into my mind and expose it to what it didn't want, which was to taste this durian. My mind didn't want to be without the phone. It wanted the phone to be permanent. So I did just the opposite, put the phone away. The mind didn't want the durian, so I needed to bring the durian in. So it's kind of like you treat your mind like a 3-year-old child, and your mind's throwing a temper tantrum, and you give it exactly what it doesn't want. And now you train it to be comfortable and content. If you're afraid of large crowds, go around large crowds. If you're lonely and bored when you're alone, be alone. If you really enjoy being alone, but you don't like being around other people, go around other people, right? So you're going to need to do these kinds of things. If you're attached to wearing a particular type of clothes, you're going to need to set those clothes aside and wear a different type of clothes. So you're going to need to look at each little facet of your life like this. And one by one, you kind of strip it away. And then eventually you get to a point where, life's so peaceful, life's so joyful, because you can do anything, wear anything, and your mind's completely comfortable with that. So now if I accidentally leave my phone at home, there's no fear at all, because I've done it on occasion by accidentally leaving it at home. But I had to first train my mind intentionally to be without the phone by going outside without it. So you guys have these. You're probably attached to your phone potentially. You'll know because if you misplace it and your mind's kind of shaken up, or if it breaks, like my phone broke one time, I dropped it and the screen shattered, and I just looked at it and started laughing. And I was like, of course, it's impermanent, right? And fortunately, my wife had another phone that I could use. So you're going to need to test your mind and try to trigger it to see if there's any craving there, and be observant of your mind. These are things that I teach you in other classes. I don't usually talk about it here, but we just got into this conversation. But this is something that you'll learn how to do this and kind of challenge your mind. But the Eightfold Path is the foundation, because in those situations where you're outside without your phone and your fear comes up, you notice it with your mindfulness, and then you apply right effort to cut it off and let it go. So that's why you need the Eightfold Path as a foundation. Right? So before you start challenging your mind, just build up the Eightfold Path first. Anything else you guys would like to talk about? No? In some respects, yes, because you have more training, you have more knowledge and wisdom to be able to approach it. But as you get towards the end of the path, the cravings, desires, attachments that you have, those are the more deeply held ones because they've been around the longest. So I don't know if you have children or a life partner. No, none of those things. Are your parents still alive? Your mom? Yeah, so these are usually the deeper held attachments, like your relationships, your parents, siblings, life partner, children, things like that. Big purchases like a house or a car, you're usually more attached to those things because they're more expensive. So your mind tends to hold on to those things more. Your own physical body, and like fearing death and craving permanent health. These are some of the stronger attachments. Sex for some people, not everybody. Some people, even in their teens and their early 20s, they're not really into sex very much, right? So everybody's a little bit different, but whatever's around towards the end, it's the deeper held attachments. But by that point, you're going to have more wisdom. You're going to have more knowledge. You're going to have had so much success getting rid of all these other attachments, and you see the improvement to your mind. You're going to be very dedicated and very determined to be able to get rid of all those attachments because you've seen what getting rid of attachment leads to, which is more peace and more joy. So you'll be able to go, like a week or 2 or 3 or 4 with so much peace in your mind, but then boom, something will come and you'll be experiencing discontentedness, but you'll know what that is and you'll be able to solve it and address it, and now you're back to your peace. Some people take it that way. It works out better because you get more confidence. And it's kind of like a business practice where you have like a methodology or best practices and you can see how to do it with the littler ones. And then it builds your confidence to apply the same methodology to some of the bigger ones. Mm-hmm.
My son's 25 and we have this relationship where we banter and poke fun at each other, and I recognise in some ways it's probably not a healthy relationship. It could be a fine line to somebody getting their feelings hurt. Mm-hmm. And, just in my mind, I'm thinking about when I go back to Australia, when I speak with him, and, I'm thinking about now how I make those subtle changes to move to a more healthy, mature relationship. I suppose it's like 2 teenagers just bantering and poking fun at one another. That's our current relationship. But I think it probably needs to shift and be more mature at some stage.
Yeah, that's wise. And be prepared for, Mom, you're not fun anymore, right? Because he's having fun. He's craving that banter, right? And you just got to understand, that's his craving. And you're like, oh, I'm fun. I'm just choosing not to do that anymore. We can do other things. What would you like to do? Right? So be prepared for other people to try to drag you back into what it is that you're trying to get away from.
What about, I'm not sure if this is the case with you, but what about if you have a friendship or a relationship that's based on sarcasm where you say something to your friend and it's obvious that you're just joking with them and they know you're joking, so it's like an in-joke. It's not like something if you're walking down the street and you said someone's shoes look terrible, that would be not good. But if you're with your friend and you have such a close relationship and you say, your shoes look terrible, and they say, well, yours look terrible too, and that's just a jokey relationship, and the rules are set because they know it's almost a sign of affection when you can joke like that with a person and they know that that person's not going to get offended or you're not going to get offended. But I don't know.
Yeah, whenever you're degrading and diminishing, it's not helpful for your mind. And as Julie was just saying, there's a fine line sometimes, and people, depending on what they're experiencing, they can cause their mind to be upset and frustrated. And now what they're going to do is they're going to push you aside, or they're going to be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or they're going to start putting their expectations on you. So you would like to get to a point where you have a permanent practice, where you just treat everybody the same. And this is what helps to create the peace in your mind, right? So like when I go outside on the street and I see the person sweeping the street, I'm like, hello, sir, how are you? Good morning, whying this person. If I saw the king of Thailand, hello, sir, how are you? Good morning, right? So you don't have to figure out who is this person and where are they in this pecking order, and I got to treat these people this way and those people that way, because that's really burdensome for your mind. So you just treat everybody the same. So I would encourage you to eliminate those kinds of things. Like, I wouldn't say those kinds of things. The only time I use those kinds of things is like when I'm training my son's mind. I actually intentionally say a couple of things like that every once in a while, just to see if he's eliminated personal existence view. And then once I've done that with him a number of times, then I don't need to do it anymore. And at this point, he knows what I'm doing is to train his mind and make sure he's eliminated personal existence view. But by and large, you would like to purge all of that stuff because you would like to treat everybody the same and have uplifting and positive and jovial jokes where you're not degrading or diminishing people. And that is going to create much better relationships for you. Right now, whatever relationships you have that you feel this type of joking is bringing you guys closer together, this type of true love that I was talking about a little bit earlier this morning, you guys haven't even experienced that level of harmony where you're practicing true love with people and you're loving people unconditionally. You probably haven't even experienced a relationship like that because most relationships, people want something from you. So when you start practicing that, that's what you're going to receive back. Whereas if you put out this banter and this diminishing way of being, that's the way people are going to be with you. And you would like to be able to clean all this up in your life and get to the point where you have unconditional love and you're not saying or doing things that could potentially trigger somebody else's cravings, because while they're causing their own discontentedness, they don't know that. So one of the things about an enlightened being is they're functioning in a way that minimizes the ability for somebody else to actually get angry and frustrated. People will still get angry and frustrated around you, but it's very minimal. It's almost non-existent. Like one time I was here talking at the temple and a student asked me about the wars. And I said, oh, it's really unfortunate that we have these wars in the world. Somebody got angry that I said that, that it was unfortunate that there was wars in the world. They thought I should have been angry and frustrated that there's a war and I should have condemned it, right? This isn't the way somebody speaks that is training their mind. They don't condemn people, because condemning someone is like to judge them and say that, they are wrong and I am right. This would be the ego. So you're going to see that certain things you're doing now, as you train your mind, you can see that it's wise to move away. So like you just saw with your son, you're like, I need to change this. Not something I taught you, not something I shared with you, but you figured it out on your own. So this is another one of those, the sarcasm, the degrading of people. You'll see that there's a better way to relate to people than that. And you just need to see it enough and practice it enough. You're like, well, I really like this way better, actually. It creates even more harmony than I ever thought possible in my relationships. Mm-hmm. But when or if you ever do that, up to you.
A couple of months ago, I was at the gym and I forgot to remove the weights from one of the barbells. Mm-hmm. And this guy just started screaming at me. It was really furious. I was a little bit scared, but I was quite pleased with the way I dealt with it, because I didn't raise my voice and I just said, oh, I'm sorry. He was like, why did you do that? He was so angry. I thought he was almost going to hit me. And I just was very calm and said, look, I'm really sorry. I said, I didn't realize I didn't do it on purpose. And then he calmed down and it was a much better situation rather than me getting angry with him. I was very calm and said, look, you're right. I should have removed them. It was my mistake. Sorry. And it was a much better resolution.
See, what I would have done in that situation is I wouldn't apologized, because you didn't do anything wrong by leaving the weights on the barbells. You didn't do anything wrong. I would have just walked away from that person and got as far away from them as possible, because they're trying to impose expectations on you. They're trying to fear you into submitting to them, right? This is an animalistic instinct that the mind's doing. And now by apologizing, you're reinforcing to that person that their anger is justified and that somehow I am the one who caused them to be angry. I did something wrong. I'm so sorry, sir, right? In this situation, you haven't actually done anything wrong. And if you function like this, people will regularly treat you this way. So instead, if someone's being bitter and harsh and hostile like that at a gym, I would just walk away. You get as far away from that person as possible, even if I have to leave the entire gym, right? And then that's where you can know in your mind with the natural law of karma, I did not cause any harm to this person, because you didn't cause harm to their material possessions, to their physical body, or their reputation. This person is having a craving, and that's where you can walk away guilt-free. And you can walk away with no shame in your mind whatsoever, no fear, because you know I didn't cause harm to that person. They're not going to cause any harm to me. I can just walk away. Because this person's mind is obviously out of control with that kind of situation. They can't control it. And I don't want to be anywhere near that, right? So if you're driving in the car and someone's driving erratically, what do? I don't know what you do, but I get let off the accelerator, let that person go. I would like to get as far away from that person as possible, because I'm not interested in their unwise decisions affecting me. So it's the same kind of thing when you're in day-to-day life. You'd like to get as far away from those unwise decisions as possible so that they don't affect you in a negative way. Because this person could start picking things up and throwing it around, and you don't know what is going to happen with this uncontrolled mind. It's basically the person's acting like an animal, and you'd like to get away from that wild animal as easy as possible, as quick as possible. So that's would be my suggestion for you in those kinds of situations. Mm-hmm.
And I suppose if I was studying this and living in Thailand where it's fully supported and I can go about my practice and learning and feeling confident in a community where I'm supported to do this, I'm going to be going back to a community that don't support it. At times are probably going to be hostile, like that situation. I don't necessarily have the skills to communicate what I'm learning and what I know in a way that would be conducive to people understanding. That's one thing that scares me about, going back to, to Australia and practicing this without supports.
Sure. These are the natural laws. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can practice the same exact things. It doesn't require you to tell other people what you're doing or what you're not doing. So like I've been to America, I've been to Egypt, I've been to other places in the Middle East, and I practice the same teachings. I don't have to explain to anybody what I'm doing. So when I go to America, when I show up to the hotel, hello, sir, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I'm checking in, right? I'm still going to why them. Where here, it's going to be Sawadee Kap, Pom Ka Hom My Kap, so I'm going to be talking in Thai, but it's the same mental states that you're functioning through. It's the same 5 factors of well-spoken speech. So since they're natural laws, you don't have to tell other people what you're choosing to do. When I went to Egypt, Assalamu alaikum. I'm here to check into my hotel. How are you doing, sir? Nice to see you. Right? So you're just being polite and friendly and kind and respectful, and they're the natural laws. So there was a person who asked me to come to Egypt. He said if I went outside in Egypt, I would be dead. If I went by myself, I would be dead in 24 hours. And I was like, I don't think that's true, because I know the natural laws and I don't cause harm. So when he picked us up from the airport, I was trying as best as I could to kind of step away and go out. I was interested in going down these little alleys in Egypt because I needed a haircut. He ended up coming with me, but there were some different times where I went outside on my own, and obviously I didn't get killed, right? Because if you're not causing harm, harm's not going to come to you, right? So you need to be able to see the natural law so clearly that you're practicing wise decision making. And I've been in enough situations where I've been able to do that. Now I wouldn't walk through a war zone, right? Like that's unwise to do that, because you're obviously could potentially get killed. That's an unwise decision. But if you go to Australia or anywhere in the world, you'd be able to practice these same teachings, and you don't have to tell other people what you're doing. It's not required. You can still practice them, and they're going to just notice like, wow, she's so kind. She's so calm all the time. This is really interesting. The people who know you best, when they start seeing your mind changing, they might be like curious and like asking you like, why are you so calm lately? Or they might say like, you're not the same anymore like you used to be. What's going on? Some people might even think you're crazy because you're starting to be more calm and they don't really understand that. But you don't have to like pre-warn them or educate them about what you're doing, because it's the natural laws. And if they're curious, they will just ask you questions. Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is end here. Oh, we're a little bit after. So tomorrow we're going to be doing our meditation just like normal, and then we're going to be learning what is gamma and how does it affect me. Then I'm going to teach you what is merit after our mid-morning break. I'll teach you continued support, how to get continued support on the path to enlightenment. In the afternoon, I'm going to teach you how to integrate the teachings into your day-to-day life, and we're going to talk about the field trip that we have going on Friday. So I'll kind of give you guys information about that. And then there's an activity on Thursday afternoon. It's kind of like a surprise. I'll just kind of tell you guys when we get there. Okay, so you don't have to think about it now. It's just an activity that we're going to do. Okay, so enjoy your evening, and perhaps I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, Sawadee Kap. Sawadee Kap.